All right, we've got Gerrit Brigitha here, and he's going to share his story just about how he got into basketball and all of that. And then you guys can ask some questions.
So thanks, Nicole. Like Nicole said, my name is Gerrit Brigitha. Kind of my story on basketball is one that was up and down. From the outside, a lot of people that know me know that I played basketball at Central Michigan. Went overseas and played over in Europe professionally for 6 years. But it was an up and down journey. Some years were good, some years were struggles and tough, but overall it was a great experience. I really love the game of basketball. I'm still involved with it, still doing some coaching and things like that too. But for me, kind of got some notes, but I didn't play until 4th grade. That was the first time I picked up basketball. For my kids, they started dribbling the ball when they were, 3, 4 years old. So for me, I didn't start in 4th grade. And I started playing in the YMCA leagues, just the local leagues. Had a hoop at home in the driveway. Shot all the time. Kind of a gym rat, driveway rat. Mom had always called me in from outside to come in and eat dinner and do homework and things like that. But started in 4th grade. Actually grew up idolizing Michael Jordan and the Bulls. I grew up in Niles, Michigan, which is in southwest lower Michigan. It's about right on the Michigan-Indiana border. About an hour and a half from Chicago. So I got WGN, which is the local Chicago station. So all the Bulls games were on, all the Cubs games were on. So, I was a Bulls fan, a Michael Jordan fan, and that was, when I was 9 years old and in 4th grade, that was kind of when the dynasty started for Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So I was kind of getting into basketball, loved it, was watching a ton of the Bulls and Michael Jordan play. So I just fell in love with the game. That's all I did, honestly. So, and then through elementary school, I just played with the local teams through the YMCA. At that point, they didn't have most teams. There wasn't travel ball. There weren't, all the resources that we have nowadays, where you can go and practice and have trainers and coaches and things like that helping you. But and then into middle school, it's kind of funny. I wrote down kind of a timeline of my basketball, all the way from 7th grade through my time in Europe playing professional basketball. So I kind of just go through that. So in 7th grade, at my middle school, we had an A team and a B team. So they kept 20 kids. So in 7th grade, I made the A team. I was kind of a bench player, came off the bench. Our 8th grade, same thing. I made the team, came off the bench. But I know at the start of 8th grade, I was 6 feet tall. So when I walked through the doors at the beginning of
how tall were you? I'm sorry, I missed that.
At the beginning of 8th grade, I was 6 feet tall.
Okay.
And probably at the end of 8th grade, I was 6'3", 6'4", as far as my height. But same thing, 8th grade, made the A team, kind of came off the bench, wasn't one of the main guys. Then as a freshman, we had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. As a freshman, I made the JV team, kind of same thing, didn't start, came off the bench. But at that point, I was probably about 6'4", 6'5", and just kind of coming into my own. I was super skinny. My coach would call me a beanpole. He would just make fun of me. I'd get pushed around. I wasn't really strong, but, made the JV team. And then after my freshman year, our athletic director totally cleaned house. He let go of the freshman team, or freshman coach, JV coach, varsity coach, brought in all new people, all new coaches. It really wasn't a very good program. A typical season for a boys team was probably 3 wins, 4 wins. Kind of a bit like Lake Benton's team is right now with the boys, over the last few years. So as a sophomore with that whole new coaching coaching staff came in, varsity coach, he just kind of saw something in me. At that point, at the start of my sophomore year, I was 6'8". And he was like, I see something in this kid. So I made the varsity team. And that was kind of the start of it. I went from, as a freshman on the JV team, didn't play much. I think I probably averaged 2 or 3 points a game. Then I made varsity as a sophomore. I was all conference, all state, honorable mention. I think I averaged maybe 17 points or so. So I kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody knew much about me. And, I made the varsity team and just had a lot of these accolades and stuff like that. And our team was good. I think we ended up winning maybe 10 or 11 games that year. We were around the 500. Which that's kind of an important theme in my career as well. With that, if I had a good team, a lot of the accolades come. You could be a really good player, but if your team isn't good, you don't get as many of the accolades. So it's important to be a good teammate, have a good team around you, and kind of build some good chemistry and things like that too. So that was my sophomore year. Then as a junior, I was on varsity again, kind of same thing, all conference. That year I made all states and started getting a lot of recognition, even around the country. It's funny, when I was in high school and college and playing overseas, I was really hard on myself. If I was not performing up to what I thought were my standards, I'd, kind of be my biggest critic. And I was a pretty humble player. I was, didn't brag, didn't like tout that was coming my way. But, preparing for, talking to you guys, I kind of went through some old clips and things like that. And I was like, I was a pretty good player. I never really said that in the moment, but looking back at it, kind of cool to see. But so I started getting some national recognition, but I was going through some things today. I saw as a junior, I was the 28th ranked power forward in the country for all juniors. At that point, I started getting a lot of letters from schools and colleges. That kind of started probably halfway through my sophomore year. I remember that. My first letter was from Notre Dame. And, once I started performing and doing really well, I got just tons of letters from school. I actually have 8 boxes in my basement right now of letters from schools and things like that. I can pull up some of them.
That's so cool that you kept those.
I know. And as a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, who would have thought that I would have wanted that? Now as a 38-year-old, I'm glad I did it. But I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is just a stack from letters from this Duquesne University. There's probably 50 in here. There's probably another stack of that. There's another stack from like Marquette University. You are doing something good and people want you when they start writing handwritten letters. So a lot of these are like handwritten letters. I forgot about this too. I got a lot of letters from Michigan State. I got from here as well. And there was one letter, as I was going through the pile, I'd never even opened it. And actually, as I'm going through it now, I'm trying to see, hold on. I had one. But anyways, it was a letter, and it said, from the coaches, I can't find it. But anyways, it said, come join the family, give us a call anytime. And it had a business card in there from Tom Izzo.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
A bunch of letters and stuff like that. And at a certain point, probably my junior year was when I was really getting recruited heavily by colleges and stuff like that. And, I got to the point where I just threw those letters in the boxes and just, I didn't even look at them.
Did you know you wanted to go to CMU at that point?
What's that?
Did you know you wanted to go to Central?
No, it really wasn't even on my radar probably until my junior year, But I just started getting tons of letters and the recruiting. So it was nice to get that acknowledgement. And then at the beginning of my senior year, I started going on some visits to schools and things like that, and went to Central Michigan. That was the first school that I went on an official visit for. Went there, got there on a Friday, stayed till Sunday morning, and I think on Saturday night I told the coach, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna come. I want to come here, commit," and kind of signed a little bit of a letter there to go there. But yeah, I didn't go on any other visits, like official visits. I went on unofficial visits like Marquette, Northwestern, Michigan, Eastern, Western, Central, just a lot of the MAC schools and local schools here in Michigan as well. But yeah, so I started my senior year kind of with that feeling that, hey, yeah, I got it in the bag. I have a scholarship. And that year, we ended up making it to the Final Four. So we played at the Breslin Center. We won the conference. I was a conference MVP, first team All-State. And I think they still do this. I don't know if they do it at the kind of the same as they did back then, but they vote for Mr. Basketball for the state of Michigan. And as a senior, I finished number 8 for Mr. Basketball for voting. But it was a good senior year. Then I rolled into CMU. Once you get to college, everybody's good. There's really nobody that's not good. Everybody was All-State. Everybody was the MVP of their conference. Some people were, All-Americans to some degree. But as a freshman, I started. We actually won the conference at CMU my freshman year, and I made the all-freshman team. But I also played with Chris Kaman. I don't know if anybody knows Chris Kaman.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but he's from Wyoming, which is just outside of Grand Rapids. But he's 7 foot tall, just a really, really good player. And he ended up getting drafted 6th overall in the NBA draft, I think in the 2003 NBA draft. But me and him kind of split time as a freshman. Then my sophomore year, Chris started over me. I kind of went to a bench role and came off the bench. My minutes were down, points were down, rebounds were down, all that stuff. But and we actually finished last place that year. So it was kind of, freshman year came in, did really well, had all these accolades. Sophomore year, got moved to bench. The team didn't do very well. Then my junior year was even worse. I got buried even more on the bench. Chris was playing the whole game, basically. I think that year I averaged 1.6 points per game, not even a basket. I think I played 7 minutes a game. But our team, we won the conference, actually made it to the NCAA tournament. We beat Creighton in the first round, which Kyle Korver was their, best player, which I think he's still playing in the NBA. And then in the second round, we lost to Duke. So we played Duke out in Salt Lake City, lost to them by maybe 15 points or so. But after that year, Chris Kaman got drafted, so he left. And as a senior, I kind of got some playing time again and started, averaged 17 points, 7 rebounds, led the conference in field goal percentage, team MVP, all conference, all that stuff. So it's kind of been the theme, in middle school, I came off the bench, didn't play much, and I had 3 good years, and came to college, had a good freshman year, sophomore year, junior year was down. Junior year, I was really down on myself. I was even looking at trying to transfer and go to some different schools. So I was like, I'm not playing. I wasn't happy. Didn't like the role that I was in, but I kind of just buckled down and worked hard. Hey, I got 1 more year left. I know I can do it. I've got the talent. I now have the opportunity, and I kind of seize the moment, take it, and I'm happy since the year.
Were your thoughts on playing pro at that point, like before your senior year?
No, I just wanted to play at that point. I was just like, hey, I'm struggling to even get off the bench here. I knew I could do it, but at that point, my confidence was down. I really wasn't playing. But looking at it, I had a draft pick in front of me, really. The 6th best player in the country that year. But so I had a good senior year, got a lot of accolades and things like that, got contacted by some agents, and basically had a 6-year career after that over in Europe. That was kind of the same thing. You know, my first year I went to Italy, was there for 2 months. There was 5 or 6 other power forwards on the team at the same time, and I ended up going to a team in Spain to finish out the year. Then the next year I broke my foot, so struggled with injuries. The year after that, I had a good year, went to Finland and went to Hungary. And then the next 2 years after that, I played in the Netherlands. You know, 1 year I was hurt. The other year I was in the All-Star game. Did really well. And then my last year I went to Switzerland. It was just not a good experience. Beautiful country, but the basketball there wasn't very good. Team was unorganized. I wasn't happy. I wasn't paid well. And there were some other issues there where, good housing, everything was not going very well. So at Christmas, I left and went home and was going to try and, go back to the team the next year. And kind of when that economy just crashed, teams were going bankrupt. I ended up just hanging up shoes and joining the working world, I guess. So it was, kind of an up and down thing, but I loved it. It was awesome. It was, I would say the one thing that I would take from that was that hard work always kind of puts you towards the top. There's just so many people that are gifted and have natural talent, but they don't work on it. I was always working, always playing, always, people would go out to the movies or go to a party or go hang out with their girlfriend, and I would go to the gym and shoot and work on my game and try and get better. And I thought to myself that they're at the movies, they're doing things, they don't have a ball in their hands, but I do. That's 2 hours that I'm getting better, and they're not. So I just kind of use that as motivation for myself to get better. And I wasn't the biggest, I didn't jump the highest, I wasn't the fastest, but I think for me, just being a hard worker kind of, helped me get where I was. So, but it's fun, and at this point now, I'm still doing some coaching and working with kids and trying to get back to the game of basketball. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
I guess I have a question and then I'll open it up to everybody else, but I'm just curious, at what point did like pro basketball ever even like cross your mind? Like, were you thinking about that when you were in middle and high school? Like, was that a dream of yours or did it just kind of come about?
When you're a young kid in elementary school playing in your driveway, you're always Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen or, your favorite player. So you're pretending that you are an NBA player. That's your idol, and watch them on TV and try and mimic what they do when you're playing in the driveway. But, I would say I probably wanted to, but I don't think I truly thought that was something that was possible. I didn't have that as a goal of mine. And it really probably only came to light that was an opportunity when I was a senior. I started playing really well. Some of the guys that had graduated from CMU maybe a year or two before had gone over to Europe. They were having some good careers and enjoying that process. And at that point, I was like, that is an opportunity. I'm doing well and I'm enjoying it. I would like to pursue that, and for me, probably, I knew at that point, I'm probably at the center, being 6'8", I wasn't big enough to make it to the NBA, but I did sign with an agent. My agent was out of Indianapolis. So I was finished, at CMU my senior year, and school was over. I went down to Indianapolis. My agent had a kind of a camp with a lot of the new guys that he signed. We spent 3 weeks down in Indianapolis and I played really well down there. And actually, in one of the open gyms, a scout for the Indiana Pacers was there. Said, hey, you're a good player. If there's ever an opportunity, we'll reach out to you. And leading up to the NBA draft that year, the Pacers had a group workout with 4 other power forwards. I wasn't on that list either, but one of the guys pulled out one day before the 4-man power forwards. So they called my agent. They asked I would go and show up, and I got in my car, drove down to Indianapolis. They put me in a hotel for the night, and the next day I was, there at the, I think it's called Conseco Field House is what it used to be. I don't know what it is now, but where the Indiana Pacers play. But so I went to the facility and had about a 90-minute workout. And it's funny, I got there at that point. Larry Bird was the president of basketball operations. So I'm stretching, getting loose, getting ready for the workout, and out of my corner of my eye, I see Larry Bird walking to the gym. I'm like, oh man. And he makes a beeline over to me and puts his hand out, shakes my hand. He's like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Larry Bird. I was like, no kidding. So it was a cool thing, But so I had that workout, but I didn't end up getting drafted. I didn't end up getting called up to pre-draft camps or summer leagues or anything like that. So I knew probably overseas was my option. And, if I did well over there, maybe I would have an opportunity to go back to the NBA and have a tryout. But yeah, I would say probably professional. I probably didn't really truly think that was an option until my senior year in college.
All right. Well, do you guys have any questions? You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Amaya, do you have one? You're muted.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to know why you chose to go to Central Michigan.
Central Michigan, yeah, that's a weird question. My mom was from Rockford, Illinois, which is outside of Chicago. So when I was recruited by Northwestern University, she was just thinking there's no place else you should go. Great educational institution. It's in Chicago. It's on the lake. It's one of the most beautiful campuses probably in the country for college. There's great competition as far as what conference they were in as Big Ten. So she was really pushing me to go there. But, I think it ended up coming down to Central Michigan. They were always recruiting me. They started recruiting me as a sophomore. Head coach was Chase Smith at the time. I think it was maybe my sophomore or junior year, we had a powder puff football game. I was at the football game, and here comes Chase Smith. He just rolled into the powder puff game, said hi to me for 10 minutes, hung out, kind of went back to Mount Pleasant. So they had always shown interest. A lot of these other schools were interested. Then maybe I didn't do very well at an exposure camp, and they got kind of cold. And then I'd have a good game, and then they'd reach back out to me again. I think it just came down to Central was always interested. Knew if I went there, I'd probably maybe right away. If I went to a Big Ten school, I'd probably got out maybe as a freshman, sophomore, but I had to wait my turn to. But I felt maybe it was just a good fit. I liked the teammates there too.
All right, good question. Who else has a question?
Hi. So, did you, when you were younger, ever have parents who played ball and had pressure on you often, or was it just you who played ball and you started? If that makes sense.
No, it was just me. My mom was about as unathletic as they came. Really the only thing she did for me was she was 6'2", so I got a lot of her genetic, as far as being tall. But no, she didn't force me into anything, honestly. She would come out and try and shoot a couple baskets. It was embarrassing. I told her to go back into the house, but really the biggest role she played was that, she was just really supportive throughout the whole process. After my sophomore year, I had a lot of travel teams, AAU teams contact me, and that was a big commitment as far as going to practices. Being in Niles, Michigan, it's a small town. There weren't any travel teams out of Ohio. I had to go down to South Indiana. I had some teams, actually a team called the Michigan Mustang out of Saginaw. But for me, that was a 3.5-hour car ride one day. To do practice. So I ended up joining a team that was probably 40 minutes from my house. So my mom would have to drive me 40 minutes one way, take me to trips, away trips for AAU, went all over Ohio, Chicago, Pittsburgh, so he was just really supportive. And as a single mom, he was kind of the only one there to do it. He stepped up. It's really behind me and helped out with that.
What age did you start doing all like the travel or like those different things?
Yeah, it's probably after the summer heading into my junior year. So I really started doing that kind of stuff. Back then they had a lot of exposure camps. They had a lot of magazines. Before there was a magazine called Prep Spotlight. I don't know if they have anything like that now. It's probably all digital view, but a lot of these recruiting magazines would put on exposure camps. So I would go through, the 2, 3, 4 of those every year. And basically it was, top 100, top 200 prospect would come and just play games for a weekend, and college coaches would there recruit you and kind of watch you play. Yeah, I would do that. Basically did that probably from the middle of sophomore year to beginning of my senior year, and then travel basketball and doing all that stuff, looking to date that, all that. That was probably, summer heading into junior year.
So prior to that, were you just doing like your school sports in like middle school?
Yeah, school sports, going to open gyms at the high school. Our coach would open up the weight room, you'd lift, and then, just shooting on your own. Like I said before, I was just a gym rat. Anytime I had a chance to play, I would play. And it was a funny memory. I got my first job the summer before my junior year. So I had my license and everything, so I was able to get a job. My first job was at a local hardware store. It was kind of like an Ace Hardware, but our local version of that. So I worked there. With my very first paycheck, I got this massive halogen spotlight. So when it got dark out, I could flip on the halogen light and play when it was dark out. So that was just kind of the first thing I bought. I'm sure my neighbors were thrilled that, they've got this massive light coming through their lights, and I was dribbling a ball at 10 o'clock at night, but, I just loved it. So I just kind of practiced on my own and, went to some camps. I did go to like summer camps, like with some buddies, probably 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. I would go to 1 or 2 camps every year and team camps and stuff like that, and would learn things at those camps and work on that in the driveway. But, yeah, it's different. There was no YouTube, pull up videos. Basketball trainer didn't exist. It was kind of just blood, sweat, and tears.
All right. Does anyone else have questions?
That's it. I'll tell you the first time.
Did you try any other sports, or did you just do basketball?
I played soccer up until I was a freshman. So yeah, that's a great point too. I think at this point, a lot of people think you have to be specialized. You have to play one sport to be really good at it. But for me, I played baseball, I played soccer, but I quit baseball once I got to middle school. And played soccer up until I was a freshman. And then my sophomore year is when I just kind of focused on basketball exclusively. But I feel like soccer really helped my footwork, helped my conditioning. It's important. I think nowadays people feel like to be really good, I have to just do volleyball or just do soccer or just do baseball and just focus on that. I think if you're a multi-sport athlete, it really helps out. It helps you become a better athlete. Works on conditioning that probably you wouldn't normally work on just one sport. So,
Brandon, I know you had a question. Did we answer it for you? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I calmed down. But were you kind of like self-taught and during like 7th grade-ish? Like, did you just want to give basketball a try, or did you have...
Yeah, so I started playing in 4th grade. That was the first time I played, and basically, as soon as I picked up a ball, I loved it. So any opportunity I had to play and shoot in the driveway or go to a park, play with friends, I did. But I know in middle school, I had a coach, Coach Van Dawson, and he basically at the start of practice for the first 2 weeks. He took us into his classroom. He was a teacher there at the middle school, and put in an old video of a shooting coach. And each day before practice, we'd watch about 10 minutes, we'd work on that shooting drill at practice for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and just kind of work on some fundamentals and stuff like that. But outside of that, yeah, it's truly just putting in the time. And taking a little bit of information from a coach here and there, taking some information from some coaches that were at camp that I went to, and put it all together and hope that it worked. And it helped that I was 6'8". And I'll tell you this, everybody always asks, what was the first time you dunked? So it was right before my freshman year. It was the first time I dunked a basketball. And I was 6'8", the beginning of my sophomore year, and I was thinking, I'm gonna be 7 feet tall, and I stopped growing. So for me, I was done growing as a sophomore. And I know that's different too. I had even some teammates in college that still grew a little bit as a freshman in college. So don't be frustrated if you think you aren't, growing fast enough, or you want that process to speed up. Everybody kind of have their different. Some people grow really fast and stop, and some people just kind of inch along and get to their peak. Probably after high school even. So, yeah.
Were you the tallest one on your high school team?
No, I was not. I had a really, really tall high school team. Actually, my best friend Derek, he was 6'9". I was 6'8". We had a few other guys that were about 6'4", 6'5". But yeah, I was the second tallest on the team.
All right. Does anyone else have questions?
Here, I have one more. Sorry. So when you were playing soccer and basketball, and you said most kids think that they need to do one sport to get really good at it, how did you balance having 2 sports through like your years of playing them, I guess?
Yeah. It was easier then because it's different now. I think if you play one sport, a lot of the coaches expect you to do off-season work with them and do some travel obligations with them as well. But, for me, when I played soccer, I kind of gave all my attention to soccer, really didn't do too much basketball. And then when basketball season rolled around, I was, kind of all into the basketball. So it was hard to do both. But I felt like soccer was really good for my footwork. It was really good for my conditioning heading into basketball season. I always felt like I was in pretty good condition because soccer was a fall sport for boys. And then that led into the winter season for basketball. But I think when I was a sophomore, I realized that I probably had a good opportunity to maybe play in college or be pretty good or go kind of far away or a long way with basketball. Kind of why I decided to focus on basketball.
Who was your favorite teammate that you had?
Favorite teammate? Oh gosh, I had a lot of them.
And why?
Yeah. Favorite? That's a great question. It's funny. at 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, me and 3 of my buddies from CMU are getting on kind of the similar thing. We're just going to chat and see how everybody's doing and just kind of, see each other's faces. We haven't seen each other for a while, but Tom Patlin, Tony Baum, Dan Quinn, they all came in with me together at Central Michigan. We're all freshmen together, came in the same year. And we're all like brothers. They all were in my wedding. I was in all of their wedding. So those guys, would be my choice. They're like family members now. We're just really close. We went through a lot of tough times and a lot of good times together. Just kind of battled and really played for each other. When we were at CMU. So let's say those 3 were, definitely my favorite teammates, and they're still great now.
So what do you think makes a good teammate?
Good teammates, willing to adapt, willing to do what it takes to help the team win, kind of putting the team over yourself. When things are going good, it's easy to be a good teammate. When things aren't going very well, it's easy to be a bad teammate. But I think a good teammate is somebody that, whether it's going good for them personally or not, they're in your corner, they're doing what's best for the team. We had a lot of guys that were like that, but there were a lot of guys that were bad teammates, and I think if you are a bad teammate, it takes 1 or 2 bad teammates to ruin the chemistry of a team. It really does, and I've seen it. I've been part of that. And you can see when I was at Central Michigan, as a freshman, we won the conference. My sophomore year, we were last place. We kind of had the same people who came back. We had more experience. We were picked to be first place. And then my junior year, we were first place. And then my senior year, we were last place. So it was like we were first place winning the conference or the very last place team in the conference. But I think a lot of that attributed to chemistry on the team and whether or not we were good teammates to each other. As a freshman, everybody had a lot of accolades. We had just won the conference. A lot of people were, all conference players, and they thought the next year would take the step up and be like the guy. And nobody wanted to put the team in. So my sophomore year, we were last place. I really believe that was the reason why. Nobody was willing to be a truly, truly good teammate to another and kind of put them in front of their own personal goal. Good question. Team chemistry is really important. We played some teams where we had way, way more talent, but we just weren't a better team, and we lost.
All right. Does anyone else have a question? Do you have a question?
No.
No.
Question, Karsten?
No.
Carson, you had a pretty good first coach, didn't you?
Yeah.
Who was your first coach ever?
I don't remember.
What? He's right there in case you didn't know.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was not my first
Oh,
coach.
I forgot. He did play last year. So,
Well,
you
thanks
do.
for having me on and talking to everybody. I know it was, like I said, it was fun to kind of look back at, what I did and the struggles and the ups and downs. And that's going to be normal, whether it's basketball or soccer or baseball. The other thing, too, is that, I think I was looking at some stats on it. I think it's 2% of kids in high school go on to play in college. Well, there's Division I, Division II, Division III. So, the odds are that you probably won't play in college. It's just the odds are stacked against you, but it doesn't mean you can't work hard and have that as your goal. I think it just makes you so much of a better person when you head into college. You just kind of have this mindset of setting goals and working hard. And, when you get knocked down, you pick yourself up if you got this goal of wanting to be great. And for me personally, in my working world, I'm a sales manager for the company that I'm at. So we do interviews for employees. that we're trying to, hire into our company. And that's one of the things I look at is, do they play sports in high school? So to me, if you played sports in high school or sports in general, just have a hard work ethic. Because nobody wins every game. You get knocked down, which is the same thing in the business world. Somebody tells you no, but you got to go back and keep asking, and you face a lot of adversity. And I think athletes and people that play sports are able to handle that really well. So
it's funny you say that because when I interviewed for my job as a teacher, one of the things she said that made my resume stand out was that I was a swimmer, and she knew swimmers were really hard workers. So, I mean, it's funny how sports can open up other avenues too.
Oh yeah, yep, for sure. All of our best sales reps at my company played sports, or played hockey, or played baseball, or did some of those things like that. You can see that competitive drive in them too.
So I guess to kind of end the call, like last advice, if you kind of said this already, I guess, but for anyone that thinks they want to do sports beyond high school, what would you tell them?
You have to be different than everybody else. If you just continue to do, if you go to practice and that's it, you're going to be just as good as everybody else. You just have to be abnormal. I remember in middle school, I went to a camp. It was Tri-State University, which I think is now called Trine. But I remember this vividly. The coach there, he put on the camp and he said, to be great, you have to be abnormal. You can't do what everybody else is doing. So if everybody else is going to the movies and hanging out and doing this and that, yeah, you can do that, but you got to go and you got to put in the extra time. Unless you end up being, 7 feet tall and just a creative nature, you got to put in the time. You have to put in the extra work, and it's you're going to get kicked and knocked down, and you'll probably get to a point where you want to quit, think you're not good enough. But you just have to keep pushing through and work hard, be a good teammate, be humble. That's the other part too. If you are a really good player, be humble. A lot of coaches won't play you if they think you're cocky, or you think you're better than everybody else on the team. It's just not a good person to be around. That can really destroy a team as well. So be humble, work hard. Everything you put into it will definitely help you out.
All right, so shameless plug for you, but you do, is it privates that you do at?
Yeah, so I do some coaching, some private lessons and group lessons and things like that out at McBrook off of Torrey Road there in Fenton. So, throughout the year, I'll do some clinics and things like that for some younger kids and stuff like that, which is awesome. I didn't have that growing up. That it was kind of just working in the driveway and remembering what Michael Jordan did in the game that you just watched the other night, and trying to mimic those moves. But so I'm out there. If you go to the website, there'll be information on something there too. Or if you just go out to McBrook and look for the guy that's 6'8", I'll be out there. So, but it's a good resource, a good place too to just go and have some open gyms and shoot the ball and be a gym rat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No problem. Glad I could do it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.